Dear students, this is me, Dr. Shikha Sharma, lecturer in English at Government Girls College, B.A. In this video, I'll continue the poem Ode to Autumn. In my previous videos, I have discussed first 25 lines of the poem. First 20 lines of the poem. Now, in this video, I'll continue the poem. The last stanza of the poem will be explained in this stanza. Where are the songs of spring? Where are they? Think not of them. Thou hast thy music too. While bad clouds bloom the soft dying day and touch the subtle plains with rosy hue. Then in a wailful chord the small nuts mourn among the river swallows, borne aloft, or sinking as the light wind leaves or dies. And full-grown lambs loud bleat from hilly bourne, hedge crickets sing, and now with treble soft, the red-breast whistles from a garden croft, and gathering swallows twitter in the sky. In this stanza, this last stanza begins with a question which the poet himself asks. Where are the songs of spring? Okay, he asks to the autumn. वो autumn से पूछता है where are the songs of spring? स्प्रिंग के सॉन्ग्स से वो कहाँ गए, गीत कहाँ गए? where are they? स्प्रिंग के गीत कहाँ हैं? Where are the songs of spring? Think not of them. Now the poet says that you don't think about the songs of spring. स्प्रिंग के सॉन्ग्स के बारे में मत सोचो. Thou hast thy own music. तुम्हारा खुद का एक अपना म्यूज़िक है. ऑटम का अपना खुद का एक म्यूज़िक है. While bad clouds bloom the soft dying day and touch the stubble plains with rosy hue. Now he describes the day. Okay, he described the scene of after sunset. Okay, at the end of the day, while bad clouds bloom the soft dying day. Soft dying day means at the end of the day, at the time of sunset. कि जब sunset का सूर्यास्त का जब समय होता है तब जो क्या होता है? While bad clouds bloom, bad means amid, the clouds shine. Okay, amid the the sun shines amid the clouds. तो सूर्य है वो बादलों के बीच चमकता है. And touch the stubble plains, and the rays of the sun, और जो सूर्य की किरणें हैं वो क्या करती हैं? stubble plains को टच करती हैं. Okay, stubble plains means a plain which has reaped. Okay, जिसको which has been reaped and small stalk are remained. Okay, छोटे छोटे स्टॉक उसमें बचे हुए हैं, और जो वैसा जो वो प्लेन होता है, वो जो फील्ड होता है जिसमें फसल कट चुकी है और छोटे छोटे जो डंठल जो होते हैं वो बचे होते हैं, उस पर जो सूर्य की जो किरणें हैं वो गिरती हैं. विद रोजी ह्यू एंड इट अपीयर्स एंड लुक्स लाइक रोजी इट कलरफुल एंड इट लुक्स वेरी कलरफुल. ठीक है, बिल्कुल एक कलरफुल ये लगता है. देन इन ए वेलफुल कोर द स्मॉल नेट्स मोन. देन इन ए वेलफुल कोर द स्मॉल नट्स मोन. ओके, और वेलफुल कोर मीन्स एक्चुअली सेड. Okay, then in a वेलफुल कोर द स्मॉल नट्स मीन्स an insect. और आफ्टर द सनसेट, ओके, जो सनसेट जब हो जाता है उसके बाद जो छोटा जो इंसेक्ट है वो ही इट्स प्रोड्यूसेस अ मॉर्नफुल साउंड. वो एक बहुत शोक गीत एक प्रोड्यूस करता है, एक साउंड इस तरह से प्रोड्यूस करता है. एमंग द रिवर स्वेलोज एंड द इंसेक्ट सिटिंग ऑन अ प्लांट विच इज़ इन द रिवर. एक रिवर के अंदर जो छोटे छोटे प्लांट्स होते हैं उस पर वो बैठा हुआ होता है और वो मौन करता है. बोर्न अलोफ्ट और सिंकिंग एज द लाइट विंड्स लीव्स और डाइज, एंड दिस इंसेक्ट इज लेफ्ट अप. ओके, एंड कम्स डाउन after with the speed of the wind. Okay, as the wind blows the insect is left up and it comes down, और ये ऊपर और नीचे होता है. Okay, and full grown lambs loud bleat from hilly bourne. and full grown lambs, और जो लैम्स हैं, जो मेमने जो होते हैं, लैम्स के जो मेमने होते हैं, जो भेड़ के जो बच्चे होते हैं, ब्लड ब्लीड फ्रॉम हिली बोन, वो एक हिली एरिया से वो एक साउंड प्रोड्यूस करते हैं. हेड क्रिकेट सिंग, हेड क्रिकेट इज ऑल्सो एन इंसेक्ट, वो जो है वो सिंग, वो भी गाता है. एंड नाउ विद ट्रेबल सॉफ्ट द रेड ब्रेस्ट विसिल्स, रेड ब्रेस्ट ए काइंड ऑफ बर्ड, एक तरह का पक्षी है. विसिल, वो गाता है, सीटी बजाता है. फ्रॉम अ गार्डन क्रॉफ्ट एंड गैदरिंग swallows twitter in the sky. एंड फाइनली swallow is a kind of bird, एक तरह का पक्षी है, वो भी आसमान में ट्विटर चिर्प करता है, चहकता है. तो दिस इज द डिस्क्रिप्शन ऑफ आफ्टर द सनसेट ऑफ द डाइंग ऑफ द डे. दिस इज द पोएट गिव्स द डिस्क्रिप्शन ऑफ द डाइंग ऑफ द डे आफ्टर द सनसेट, कि सनसेट के बाद किस तरह का ऑटम में किस तरह का सीन होता है, एटमॉस्फेयर होता है, वो उसको पूरी तरह से इसमें डिस्क्राइब करता है. The last stanza begins with the question which the poet himself asks. You have, he says to autumn that autumn you have your own music. Okay, while in autumn there is a richness in the sky which the poet describes very beautifully. Okay, in autumn there is a richness in the sky at the time of sunset. The sun shines amid the clouds, and the rays of the sun touch the plain from which corn has been reaped, and only the stubble or stalk remains. And the plain looks very colorful and beautiful. After sunset, the mournful or sad sound of the nights can be heard from the bushes, which are bushes growing in the river. The nuts are carried up and down when the wind blows. With the speed of the wind, the insects are carried up and down. From the hilly area comes the bleating of the lambs. After sunset, one can hear the chirping of the cricket, of the insect among the hedge, the whistling of the red breast, and finally the twittering of sound of a swallow bird can be heard in the sky. Okay, the beauty of the, actually in this stanza, this is the concluding stanza of the poem, and in this stanza the poet says that autumn is not devoid of songs, it has its own music. As the spring is full of sweet song, in the same way there are sweet songs to be heard in autumn too. The songs of autumn are so sweet. The songs of autumn are introduced in scene of sunset glory. The beauty of the sky that escapes many did not escape Keats. Okay, but the sunset illuminates the earth as well as the sky and touches the stubble plains with a red color. In the background of such a beautiful sunset, the wailful buzz of the swarming gnats, varying with the force of the breeze as the insects themselves rise and fall in the air. The familiar bleating of the full-grown lambs on the hilly bound, the chirping song of grasshoppers, the whistling trembler of the redbreast, and finally the twittering of swallows appear as delightful and sweet as the songs of spring. Okay, the sound produced by nuts and a large number of insects is called mournful when compared to the joyous melodies of spring time. Okay, so in this poem the poet gives in the first stanza the poet gives a beautiful description, okay, of the autumn season. In the next stanza, he compares the autumn to a lady, okay, lady farmer who cuts and collects the grain in the field. And in the last stanza, he talks about the scene, okay, of after the sunset. He talks about the scene which is after the sunset, which kind of music is produced by different kinds of birds and insects. So he says that autumn has its own music. It is not about it is not only about the spring that it has music, but autumn has its own music. The music is produced by different kinds of birds and insects. So he describes these in this poem.